All right, we're back to work on the how hit. We're gonna put it in the Yerf dog today. What we discovered last time when we temporarily mounted it was that we really need the muffler to be on here before we put this in. So we're just gonna make sure we put this little metal donut in here. It's a crush washer. And basically, once we tighten this up, that'll squash in there, and that's what makes the seal on the exhaust side. Alright, what did I say this was? These were 10, right?
Seems nice.
No, that's 8mm. They're 10.
So you're gonna be this one. Yeah, 10.
Yeah, don't tighten this one up too much though. Probably want to tighten them up evenly. And I'll get, yeah, alright. Here, hold this so it doesn't fall over.
Want me to tighten this one?
Yeah, you can.
What do you think that one is?
What are you doing? I'm asking you to hold this up so I can go get a 10mm wrench.
I need to take it out.
Take what out?
The thing, because there was a washer on it that we didn't put on. See how there's an outline of a washer, and this washer fits it perfectly.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, but the lock washer goes on the, yeah, that way. There you go. I don't remember what mounts here.
The case.
Oh, part of the plastic case?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need to get that right away?
No, you don't need to get that right away. I mean, you can't really drive it with that off. It'll overheat and cause problems. But
We can order it when we order the throttle cable. Right?
all right, I think we can put it in now.
No,
So-
you need to get a bolt. I mean, nut.
Listen, why don't you take that long bolt and all that crap out of
Can you
there,
hold this in?
and we can put this in.
No, that's way too big.
It's probably hand tight, Aiden.
No, I tightened it.
Why would you tighten it? We just stuck it in there so it wouldn't get lost. We just had that out when we tried fitting this in there before.
Yeah.
Guess what you're going to tell me? You're going to tell me you need a wrench to hold the other side now. Aren't you?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What hacks? Slip joint pliers to hold it. Slip and hold.
We can temporarily put it in there.
Temporary? What the hell's a temporary?
I don't have grammar.
Temporary rip-off. Good times. Temporary layoff. So. Ooh.
Oh, it's right here. Move it over a little bit.
No, it's jammed.
Oh, it's the...
That's a hell of a thing you did there. No, look,
we don't need a bolt now.
what? The wind's picking up and I can hear that thunder in the distance, so we're on the roof. There we go. Alright, now give me that tube.
I don't have the tube, it's okay.
Get the tube in place before we try and lift it again.
It can go through
I'm going to put the bolt through this way just to make sure this is all lined up.
It is.
Alignment. Okay, so now we're going to try it again. Are you ready?
As what is happening?
Stuck. I'm moving into position because it's also by design. You're supposed to be able to adjust this to adjust the chain.
That's good right there. What goes here? You think it's another place for another go-kart? Oh no, that's for a scooter.
So Aiden's looking at me like an idiot because I'm questioning how putting a bolt through this bracket right here is going to hold the back of the engine up. So that lifts all the way up?
Yeah.
So I wonder why they had this run all the way down. I wonder if they broke the chain and shortened it at some point. Well, we can put the bolt in, but we probably don't want to overdo it because we're going to have a heck of a time getting that chain on, I think.
Why?
I don't think that chain was anywhere near as long as this. You remember when we got this, the chain was off?
Yeah, the chain was long.
The chain was long gone. It was rusted.
Do you want to see how it looks like in your cleaner?
You think it's been in there long enough?
It's been in there for about 4 months.
Hey, we never finished tightening this.
You haven't?
No, look.
What's the size? Try this one.
Okay, it's huge. Come on, not even close.
19?
Give me the largest one in there.
It's 19 or 3/4.
It's metric.
So it's 19.
Nope.
That's it.
Right, so we're going to need a different wrench to do that. Well, I'm not interested in putting the chain on it right now anyways.
Chain.
Let's just stick the bolt through there so it doesn't, like, I don't know, just flop around.
We need to lower this.
Yeah, it's hitting, huh?
Yeah.
That's weird. What's it hitting? Something's hitting. I can hear it.
Oh, the muffler.
Oh, wow. So,
That's why they had it really low.
I mean, yeah, that's why they would have it really low. Why do they have it up so high? With it up this high,
I put this back on
you did?
so we don't lose it.
And you tightened it that much?
Yeah.
What the hell sense does that make?
How did I tighten it?
Gonna need a wrench. No, no, no. Oh, you know what that is?
What?
That's where the bolt that holds the chain guard on
Yeah.
goes in. Okay. All right, so I need to find a nut for this. I couldn't find a nut. Didn't take long before I thought about it and realized now the nut that goes on here is probably supposed to be self-locking too. So the odds that I would have a self-locking nut this size are pretty slim in metric. I don't have a lot of self-locking nuts, period.
It's 18.
This
It's 18 millimeter.
bolt right here, I have the self-locking nut for. So I remember last time we temporarily wired this that I couldn't figure out where the ignition coil was supposed to mount, and then I figured out that it goes right here, and actually there's a part of the plastic, this part of the old coil and the brass insert piece right here is actually still on there.
I mean, actually, I figured that out from a video.
I'm going to edit that all out. What were you asking?
What happens if a bolt snaps? How are
Yeah.
you supposed to take it out? In this block.
Well, this is aluminum.
So,
Well, it means that the threads are not very robust, so you got to be careful. Sometimes you can take a punch and make a small indentation in the center of the broken off bolt, and then use a drill to drill a hole. And if you can drill a hole, you might be able to get a little tool called a screw extractor in there, which basically it's got like a spiral cone shape, and the spiral twist is in the reverse direction of threads, so that when you turn it in, it tries to dig into the hole, and at the same time it tries to exert torque in the loosening direction on the bolt. Sometimes a little bit of heat helps. Heat up the area around it to expand the metal. Of course, with aluminum, you're going to be real careful. So you don't want to use like oxyacetylene or something like that, because you can melt it. So that wire we put on here, or I put on here, that's going to be too short. So I'm going to have to cut that crimp connector off, put a splice on there, and put a new one over to here. When we're temporarily running this, we're going to have to, we'll just zip tie this up here or something. Well, actually, we'll just put it up like this. We'll have to zip tie it or something so that it doesn't fall down and hit the flywheel.
Yeah.
So I've been working on getting the wiring all hooked up on this thing. There's a couple of connections that I still have to deal with. One of which is a wire that goes to what the wiring diagram describes as a kill switch. And that wire goes to ground. So essentially when this is grounded, I think you have spark, and then when it's not grounded, you lose spark. So the only switch like that is up on the column. So since this is the only switch on the whole thing, we have to assume this is for the ignition. And then there's a red button, push button, momentary contact push button on the other side. Since there's no horn, that's probably the start button. There are lights on the roll bar, but Aidan looked online and apparently those lights are designed to just come on whenever the cart is running. And here's that momentary contact switch. So all the wires for all those switches have color codes to them, but they're not any good to me because it all goes in this one wiring sheath back to there, splices in with the one coming down from the lights, which is up here. The lights, this is exactly how it was when we got it. I can clearly see what they're doing is they have a right and a left light assembly. They're tying the two blacks into one black wire. They're tying the two reds into one red wire. They're pink now from fading. So it's just red and black. It's going to be plus and minus the 12 volts to light the lights. Those look like regular bulbs in there. Even if these lights work, the bracket for that one's broken, so it just kind of flops around. So if we get this running, Aidan will probably use a little bit of his spending money and invest in some LED lights for it. So then there's a wiring harness, a little wiring cable here with two wires that come up. They come up, they go to here, they join in with this other wiring from the front and come out to here. This was all melted. I cut this back to some decent wiring. There's some jackets still on this piece here, but the actual insulation underneath still looks okay. But the issue is we have 4 wires total for everything. So these 4 wires are going to be responsible for making the lights work, making that switch work, making the push button for the starter work, and the interlock for the brake, the interlock switch on the brake that disables the starter unless you're pushing the brake switch. All of that is all going to be happening right here. So the question is, how the heck are they doing that? So I think what's going on is we've got to send 12 volts to the lights. That's a given. So this red wire is probably going to be your 12 volt positive. We have to have a ground because they're not using the frame for the lights to ground them. They're on plastic mounts. So this is probably the solid black wire is going to be your negative. So I'd be willing to bet if we put 12 volts on these 2 wires right here, I'd be willing to bet that that's going to be what lights the lights. So then the question is, what about the other stuff? Well, we only have 2 other circuits. We have a kill switch for the ignition system, which basically involves when that switch up in the front is in the correct position, it should end up making one of these remaining wires ground. So they're just using this ground wire for everything. They're using it as the return for the 12 volt light system. They're using it for the return for the ignition kill switch, and they're using it for the return for the solenoid circuit. We don't have to hook everything up right now. The reason why I say that is because the brake switch appears to be broken anyways. So we're probably going to want to bypass that for now. Mainly I just want the kill switch to work. But just out of curiosity, I think I'm going to put 12 volts on this and see if the lights light. Alright, just put 12 volts across these 2 wires and the lights don't light up. It's possible that both of the lights are bad. They are just regular bulb, so the filaments might be open. If I go across here with my ohm meter, I should see very low resistance because I should be looking at the filaments of the light. Alright, either we get a short in the wiring, or those are the filaments that I'm seeing with the ohm meter.
Want to test them up here?
Alright, let's see if we can't get these lights to light. These are just regular bulbs, so polarity shouldn't matter, but just to be on the safe side. Anything?
Nope.
Alright, hold on. One now.
Nope.
Really? Alright. Get rid of this. Alright. I got my 12 volt power supply. There we go.
Should be lighting up.
Drawing current, so it must be lighting.
Is it on?
Now
Yep,
it
they're
is.
lighting.
Yeah.
This one's out right here.
Which one? Well, those things draw a lot of amperage. Huh.
But it's kind of bright.
They're drawing over 3 amps. Turn the voltage down some. That's 3 amps, and one of them's out. That's probably the bulb, or it could be all corroded inside. I wouldn't worry about it. But if each one's drawing 3 amps, that means when they're both on, that's 6 amps it draws. Wow. Definitely want to replace those with LEDs. It'll be a lot less power. Alright, so that confirms my suspicion. This is 12 volts. So this is ground. It must be a common ground for the whole system. If that's true, then one of these 2 wires, I should have continuity between one of these 2 wires and the black wire when that switch is in the on position up front. Nothing on either one of these. Alright, flip that switch. That's not nice. Flip that switch again. Well, let's go right to the switch and test the switch. So up underneath here, these 2 wires go to the switch. I pulled these wires off the switch. I put the continuity tester right on the switch itself, and no matter what position it's in, I can't get any continuity. So this switch appears to be bad. It's got these like plastic things you gotta squeeze to try and get the switch to come out. There we go. Alright, so that is the switch. Switch has got 3 connections on it. It's clear that one's never had anything connected to it, so I could see the 2 shiny ones of what I just took the stuff off. So I got it on my continuity tester, which beeps, and we'll just go right on the switch. Nothing, nothing.
So we have to...
So we get a bad switch. I have, on some rare occasions, been able to get one of these switches apart, clean the contacts inside, and make it work again. So Aidan says to me, "Dad, should I go online and see how much it is for this switch?" I said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And I knew it was going to be more money than it really should be. And sure enough, he found one on Amazon, and it said, you know, that it was specifically for go-karts like Spiderbox, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And it looked just like this switch. And they want $15 for it. Now, the reason why that is a complete and total ripoff is because this is a very generic, commonly available switch that you can buy online that, depending on, if you buy them in quantity, you can get these down to 60 cents a switch, okay? Because, you know, it's a Chinese-made switch. It's actually got a part number right on it, KCD5-1111N. And it says CQC, which would probably be the manufacturer, but it's a Chinese manufacturer. It's no big deal. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you can take this switch apart and sometimes clean it and fix it. And the way you take this switch apart, because it's a plastic molded construction, is you actually take the button out of the front, the actual green part here. And the way you do that is there's actually a couple of plastic pins in these holes right here. All right. And there's actually a place to put a very small thin blade screwdriver in right on the side there. And pry up. And pop one side out, and then very carefully, because the spring's in there, take this out. Voila. And you get a tiny ball in there. And you get the little leaf part that flips back and forth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean that little contact area down inside there. Alright, so I've reinstalled the cleaned part. Now the trickiest part of reassembly is getting this back together, because you get this tiny little ball that actually sits on top of this spring right there. Now if I turn this over, obviously the ball falls right off. And if I turn this over, the part that I just put in there falls out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little tiny dab of grease on there to stick the ball, let the ball stick in place just long enough so I can get this thing inverted and popped back in, hopefully.